People think happiness comes from money, big houses, and busy lives. I believed that for most of my life, too. But when you reach old age, something strange happens. The things you spent decades chasing suddenly feel empty, and the simple moments you once ignored quietly become the only things that truly matter. I learned that truth very late. I'm 78 now, and most of my days are quiet. I wake up early, make a cup of tea, and sit by the window watching the morning light fill the room. Life moves slower at this age. When you sit in silence long enough, memories start to visit you, and some of them carry lessons you didn't understand when you were younger. When I was young, I believed happiness had a very clear shape. It looked like a bigger house, a better job title, a car that made people turn their heads when you drove past. Back then, everyone around me believed the same thing. We didn't question it, we chased it. I remember being 25 and telling my father, "One day I'm going to be successful." He smiled in a quiet way and asked, "What does success look like to you?" I answered quickly, "Money, respect, a life where I never have to worry." At the time, that answer felt intelligent, mature, ambitious. So I worked long hours, weekends, holidays. While other people sat on their porches talking with neighbors, I stayed in the office finishing reports. While families gathered around dinner tables, I often ate alone with paperwork spread across the kitchen counter. I told myself it was temporary. Just a few more years, I would think. Then life will slow down. But life doesn't slow down the way we imagine. Years passed quietly, promotions came, the bank account grew. People started introducing me with impressive titles. From the outside, it looked like everything was going exactly according to plan. But something strange happened along the way. The things I thought would make me feel complete never quite did. The new car felt exciting for a week. The promotion felt important for a month. The bigger house felt impressive until the silence inside it became noticeable. I kept chasing the next milestone, convinced the real satisfaction was just one step further ahead. What I didn't understand back then was something my father had already figured out. Happiness doesn't live in the places young people usually search for it, but it took me most of my life to realize how wrong I had been. The moment that forced me to rethink everything didn't come at work. It happened at home, right in the heart of my life. I remember one evening very clearly. I walked through the front door later than usual, my briefcase still in my hand. The house was quiet, but not the peaceful kind of quiet. It felt empty. My wife was sitting at the kitchen table. She wasn't angry. That almost made it harder. She just looked tired. "You missed dinner again," she said softly. I glanced at the clock on the wall and shrugged. "Work was busy. I'll heat something up later." She nodded, but her eyes drifted toward the hallway where the kids' rooms were. "They waited for you," she said. Later, when I checked on the kids, they were already asleep. One had left a small drawing on the table. It was a picture of our family standing together. 4 stick figures holding hands, but the 4th figure, mine, was drawn far away from the others. At the time, I told myself children imagine strange things. Years passed, and the distance in that drawing slowly became real life. The kids grew older. Conversations at the dinner table became shorter. Eventually, they moved out, building lives of their own in cities far away. One afternoon, after they had all left home, I sat in the same kitchen where my wife had once waited for me. The house was larger than ever, quieter than ever, and for the first time in decades, I realized something I had never allowed myself to see. In all the years I spent trying to build a successful life, I had slowly stepped out of the life that mattered most. For a long time, I thought happiness was something big, a promotion, a new house, a moment where everyone finally looked at you and said, "You made it." But old age has a strange way of revealing quiet truths, not all at once, slowly, almost like life is whispering something you were too busy to hear before. The first time I noticed it, I was sitting on my porch early in the morning. The sun had barely risen. The street was still empty. Just birds, a little breeze, and a cup of warm coffee in my hands. Nothing special. Yet for some reason I felt calmer than I had in years, and that confused me right in the middle of all that quiet. Because in that moment I had none of the things I once believed were necessary for happiness. No big achievement happening, no applause, no urgent phone calls. Just silence, just the world as it was. That's when a strange thought crossed my mind. What if happiness was never hiding in the future at all? What if it had always been sitting quietly in the small moments we rushed past? The short conversation with your spouse before work, the laughter of children in the next room, the simple comfort of someone asking, "How was your day?" When you're young, those moments feel ordinary, almost invisible. But when you grow older, you begin to notice something unsettling. Those small moments were never ordinary. They were the entire point. And here is the part that most people don't realize until it's too late. The things we spend decades chasing rarely stay with us, but the simple things we once ignored, those are the memories that quietly follow us for the rest of our lives. The moment that truly changed how I understood happiness didn't happen during some big celebration. It happened on an ordinary afternoon. My wife had been quiet for a few weeks. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, the kind that makes you feel something is wrong. One morning she looked at me and said, "I think we should go see a doctor." At first I didn't think much of it. People get tired, they get headaches, life moves on. But a few days later we were sitting in a hospital waiting room surrounded by strangers. Hospitals have a strange silence. Even when people are talking, the air feels heavy. When the doctor finally called her name, I followed her inside. The conversation that happened in that room is something I will never forget. The doctor spoke calmly, carefully, but even before he finished explaining, I could see the truth on my wife's face. Something serious was happening. On the drive home, neither of us said much. The road looked the same as it always had, but somehow everything felt different. That evening, we sat together in the living room. No television, no phone calls, just silence. After a while, she reached for my hand and said something that stopped me completely. I don't remember the last time we just sat like this. It wasn't anger in her voice, it was sadness and regret. In that moment, memories started rushing through my mind. Years of busy schedules, late nights at work, missed dinners, conversations that had been postponed because something important needed my attention. I had spent decades trying to build the perfect life, yet here I was, realizing I had rushed through the moments that actually made life meaningful. That night we didn't talk about the future, we talked about the past, about the first apartment we shared, the small kitchen where we used to laugh while burning dinner, the nights when the kids were young and the house was full of noise. Simple moments, moments I once believed were ordinary. But sitting there beside her that night, I finally understood something that took me nearly a lifetime to see. Those small moments weren't interruptions to life, they were the life itself. After that night, something inside me changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just quietly. The way a person begins to see things differently after hearing a truth they can't ignore anymore. I started noticing the small details of life in a way I never had before. The way the morning light slowly moves across the living room floor. The sound of someone laughing in the next room. The calm feeling of sitting with someone you love without needing to say anything at all. When you're young, those things feel ordinary. You assume they will always be there. But when you get older, you begin to understand something most people never realize in time. Life is not made of the big moments we chase. It's made of the quiet ones we overlook. For most of my life, I believed happiness was waiting somewhere ahead of me. I thought if I worked harder, earned more, achieved more, eventually I would arrive at the place where life finally felt complete. But the strange truth is this. The place I was trying to reach had been around me the entire time. I just never stopped long enough to see it. I just never stopped. If someone young were sitting across from me today and asked what I've learned after all these years, I wouldn't talk about success or money. Those things come and go, but the peace you find in the quiet, that stays. I would tell them something much simpler, something I wish I had heard. Call your parents more often than you think you need to. Sit with your family at the dinner table without rushing away. Listen when someone wants to talk, even if the conversation seems small, because one day you will wake up and realize that the simple moments you once ignored have quietly become the memories you miss the most. And here's the truth that surprises people when they hear it from someone my age. Old people are not happier because life becomes easier. We are happier because we finally understand what was important all along. The problem is, by the time many of us learn that lesson, most of life has already passed. And here's the strange truth I didn't understand until very late in life. People think old age teaches you how to be happy. That isn't exactly true. Old age simply removes the illusions. The race slows down, the noise fades. The things you spent decades worrying about suddenly stop mattering. And when that happens, something surprising becomes clear. Happiness was never something we had to search for. It was sitting quietly in the background of our lives the entire time. But when we were young, we were too busy chasing bigger things to notice it. Now, at this age, I don't wake up thinking about achievements or success. I wake up grateful for simple things. A peaceful morning just the way it should be. A familiar voice on the phone. The quiet comfort of knowing someone still cares about you. And sometimes I wonder how different life might have been if I had understood this sooner. But perhaps that's the real lesson, the one that stays. Some truths can only be seen when you've walked far enough down the road to look back. And when you finally do, you realize the life you were trying so hard to build was already happening around you the entire time. Now I wake up every morning, sit quietly with my coffee, and realize the simple life I once ignored was the life I always wanted.